nearly 40, and I'm
I
like,
am-
stop it,
I
because
am
that
nearly
almost
40.
that makes me 10 months behind you, and it's like, no.
How old are you guys?
36,
That's not nearly 40. And you're not nearly 50, Ross.
but I'll be 37 in 6 months' time.
I am 37, which is nearly 40.
Ah,
Yeah.
I'm the baby.
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 No.
What was that from?
American
Can we get a recap?
We can indeed.
From the Recap King. Woo!
So, Ollivander gave us the details of the lawyer. And we were going to return to the Rose for a drink, but we decided instead to go to the Winchester, which was local to the apothecaries. The bartender there recognises Hawk, and Hawk had a tab at the bar. This must have been very important, so I wrote it in all caps and underlined it. Ploughman's platter,
There was extensive discussion of the ploughman's platter.
with an actual miniature ploughman
Mhm.
on the plate.
And that Ploughman's is what we'll do when we all get back together again.
Hawk asked the barman about her sister. The barman half remembers Hawk's sister, Razy Chameleon. We went to the lawyer's office, which is in the Marquis district. Very, very well to do. The lawyers are the firm of Wap, Caplet and Spong. The receptionists were very prim and proper. They did not like me when I asked them for coffee. We were seen by Adrian Wap Caplet, who is a tall, thin, distinguished-looking gentleman who's like a cross between John Cleese and Doug Jones. But his office is almost in the style of Austin Powers. He was responsible for hiring the people that went on to run the shop. He also said that who we were in shadow is who we really are. The deed was co-signed by Josephine R.Y.C. Hawk. She did not like her name and she tried to change it. The lawyers are brothers. We went back. We went to Beano's and then we made our way back to the Rose. Oh, that was it. We've discovered that every Beano's is the same Beano's. There's just an infinite number of doors that lead to the same place.
But you can't use it as a shortcut teleportation.
No, because the DM's mean.
That place would be the busiest place on the frickin' planet, even more than it is
It
already.
is.
Didn't we also have a thing that there was disparity in the lawyer's place because they had been like super, super helpful, like, oh, Miss Hawke, and oh, because it's you will be, but then
Yeah, we
it
were
seemed quite,
suspicious
yeah, quite
because
plain
they
information.
yeah, they knew Hawk really, really well and were really, really eager to
Please.
facilitate her.
Lick my ass.
I thought the phrase was "kiss my ass."
Not in Saturn.
I'm throwing the X. Oh. I haven't had enough coffee. But yeah, we were suspicious because they were really accommodating to Hawk, despite the fact that the stuff that they said that they were doing for her was really mundane.
Mm.
But they knew who she was like immediately and were like, ooh. So, hello. So we think there were shenanigans.
We called bullshit. That's what we did.
Yes.
Cool. And then when you got back to the Rose, Eliana was at the bar and she'd like weaved a spell that kind of let the patrons knew what they want, or sorry, let her know what the patrons wanted almost before they asked. And I think
You
Stone.
didn't say that she had woven a spell. You just said that she was doing it. So
Mm.
it was a choice that she made, or it's just something that happened to her. And she made it?
You recognised that there was like an active spell around her. I think one of you's got. Does one of you have an ability that can detect like active ongoing spells?
No, I have the sight, so I can tell what people are.
Okay.
Does your Borno vision not do that?
Doesn't do spells. It's just kind of
Situations.
things that are wrong, situations, exits, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But maybe I just told that something was different. Because
Or she,
you
or
said that when Roland looks at her for a long time, she's fine, but when he's like out the corner of his eye, she looks different.
Mhm.
Has that grown? Has that
yeah,
changed?
yeah. There's less of a kind of blind spot when you look at her, so it's
Right.
more evident that she's not what she was. Don't think we've had this one before.
Mm-hmm.
The conspirator. Zoom in a bit, which is the come on, hey, not too much,
Too much even.
too much zoom. Which is the defender of secrets. The conspirator speaks to the shadows, whispering with others like her. How many conspirators are there? Who's involved? We never know. The hush whispers in the right or wrong ears can tear us all apart, bring us all crashing down. Defender of secrets, and the alt text is, she speaks in words of power, but a different kind of power. When this card is turned, only someone engaging in conspiratorial action looks at it as a good thing. For them, it means secrets are kept safe. For everyone else, this card means conspirators work or speak against you, or at the very least that some surprising upheaval may be coming. Okay.
Is it worth reaching out to Crystal Fire? Because he'd been part of sending her out there. He'd been helping us because when the demons came, he helped defend us. He was interested when she came back first time. Probably going to be interested if she's come back this time. We started building a relationship with him.
I was almost going to say that I think you trust him a bit more now, but that's wrong. You distrust him less.
Yes.
Very subtle difference between the pair.
But he also, because he's weird fingers and weird pies, he might know anything about Hawk's sister. Can't hurt a conversation.
Okay.
Away from the rose.
Okay. Are you going to do that the same day or the? I think you're quite.
What time's it?
It's been a long day.
You hardly
we've
slept.
Gone through the night, and we
Hawk needs to go and like.
decompress.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it had gotten to about mid to late afternoon. So what are you all doing for the rest of the day? You've got like a half a day and a night to chill.
Playing pool. Having a few days. Hanging with the chums.
I'm going to have lobster stuffed with tacos. And then I'm going to retire to my room and I'm going to clean and oil my revolver. And
Is that what you're calling it now?
there's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And then there's whatever that was.
Yep. But tomorrow.
Yes, Roland is off to polish his pistol. Cock the hammer a few times.
Insert and remove a few loads.
Like, there's puns that you guys do, but this is just revolting.
Yeah.
Was that a pun? Revolver, revolting.
Seriously, I can never let my friend Eric agree with me too.
Okay, so Hawk is going to be playing pool.
Yep.
What about Stobold?
I think he's going to kind of have a wander around, because it's been a while since he's like just been in the Rose, and I think he's just going to kind of, because he doesn't live there though, does he? He lives still at his old
You've got
place.
you've got your own.
Yeah, I think he's just going to have a wander around and make sure that doors are where they were and exits, and just kind of refamiliarize himself with everything as it is and was and should be, and the new staff, and just have a chat with them and get the sense of who they are, and just have a couple of drinks and watch the new regulars, and just like reattune basically, and then probably head home and do something similar and then go to sleep.
Okay, cool. So with the Rose, because who else was the new staff? There was Marmite, there was Bear Grylls, Hansy Dave's been there for a while. There's Marmite Steve.
Yeah.
Was there anybody else? Nobody that I mentioned. I don't know if you wanted to.
The pub dog that we discussed.
Oh yeah,
I really didn't like those
Yeah.
first images. They were horrendous.
So what is the pub dog? Sedidimus was my
Sedidimus
suggestion.
was fine. I hated Ross's ones.
Yeah. Mine was long.
I kind of reckon Droopy would be quite funny.
Droopy, the incredibly dour barman.
Yeah.
You drink too.
But he's animated like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so he actually is an animated character. Is that who the pub?
That's not really a pub dog, though, is it?
Pub dog's the one that kind of licks up all the slops that get spilt and bakes for crisps from the.
Yeah, so Didymus isn't really that either. Well, it could be I don't know.
It's a dog tour. It's actually Sir Didymus, and the other dog as well.
Ambrosius.
Yeah, it's both.
It's got the legs of Ambrosius and the body of Sir Didymus.
Yeah.
That would work.
I don't know.
It's just Ambrosius. A big fluffy dog.
What was that
He was
Jack
a
Russell
Dulux
from
dog,
that
wasn't
TV
he?
show that would dress up as all of the characters from the stories? Wishbone.
Wishbone.
Drawing a blank here.
Connie is the pub dog.
It was a TV show where they'd retell, classic kind of fairy stories and adventures, but the lead star was just a Jack Russell that they would dress up in costumes.
Okay. Right.
I reckon. I forgot the name already. My goodness. But the Dulux dog that Sedidimus rides on, that should be our pub dog.
Ambrosius.
Yeah. And every now and again, it just disappears. You're like, where's it gone? Oh, Sedidimus picked it up a minute ago and it's gone off to fight a dragon. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's that in his mouth? Oh, unicorn horn. Okay, cool.
Nothing is more suspicious than the look a dog gives you when you ask it what it's chewing. Or a kid when you say, "What's in your mouth?" So the next question is it Eliana that gets the dog, or is it Caliburn that just comes back with the dog?
Dog just appears.
Dog just adopted us.
I think Sididimas brought him in one
day,
day
he didn't wanna
and
leave.
just went, I'm leaving him here.
I say, would you mind if you could you look after my dog for just one moment? Says
Yes.
the walking puppet dog.
And then that moment lasted a very long time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yay!
Yeah.
So then I'm now familiar with the new stuff.
Yeah. And so with Marmite Steve, have you all decided if you like him or if you don't like him?
I don't really know him.
Well, you know, no, you know straight away.
Marmite.
It's Marmite. It's Marmite Steve. That's why he's got
I
the
like
name.
him.
I want Steve all over my toast. That was the noise I imagine an Ithilid would make. Baldur's Gate 3's coming soon.
What about Stowbold?
I think he dislikes him until proven otherwise.
We'll start feeding you.
Have just a little bit of Marmite Steve on your crumpet. Just a smidgen.
Stay away from my crumpet.
Until eventually it is more Marmite Steve than crumpet.
That's me. That's how I have my crumpets. More Marmite than crumpet.
See, me personally, I kind of Marmite's okay. I don't love it or hate it. It's okay.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing, like Basingstoke and Gent. And I don't know.
Oh, and now I've remembered Gent.
I love Marmite.
Ambrose, yes, the pub.
The best thing is roast potatoes coated in Marmite and then roasted.
Gent
Yeah.
is just EDM for guitars.
Yeah.
And okay, so a pleasant evening is had by all. Wonderful. Roland lives at the Rose. Hawk lives at the Rose. Stowbold, how'd you get home?
Am I not in walking distance?
It's like a walk from Union Street to kind of Stoke, or Union Street to the far end of the embankment. It's quite. It's a walk. It's walkable.
I walk
Yeah.
because it kind of grounds me
To
to.
your house then.
Respect.
Turn your library books.
Walk.
Please turn your light.
What do you say?
It's a Pantera song.
Okay.
It took me a while
What
to
has it
realise
got
that
to do?
Pantera was not a shampoo.
Yeah, so it just kind of grounds me to suss out my surroundings and know them well, and
Wonderful. So, do you always walk the same way, or is it a different path each time?
different path each time.
Okay. So you are kind of traveling through a slightly different part of the city, and you're kind of at the edge of where one neighborhood hits another neighborhood. So there's unlike the beige that you encountered, there's not a deliberate marker between the different neighborhoods of Fartown. But you get to one point and it's just like you're no more than sort of 10 minutes away from home. And you know that thing where you if you're walking around Plymouth, and I don't know if you've ever sort of done that walk that goes from Lower Compton to Higher Compton, and you can just tell with the way that the houses are just slightly different, or where you're walking through and you kind of go from Mutley to where it kind of goes into Hartley, and the houses are just that bit bigger and the cars are just that bit posher, and
That's like going from the Hoe down to West Hoe.
yeah, that
Really obvious.
very much that kind of difference. But rather than kind of going up the socio-economic scale, it kind of goes down the socio-economic scale. The lamps are just that bit further apart, and they're just that bit dimmer, and there's that bit more shab is adorning the houses, and something kind of prickles the back of your Borno vision, and you almost sort of reach for the gun in your ankle holster, but there's a kind of a crowd of sort of fairly young people kind of all sat there on what passes for motorbikes. So, and these are bikes all the way from like full on 1920s like classic bare frame bikes with tiny little two-stroke engines, all the way up to, there's one guy who's sat astride a massive Harley Davidson, and there's a couple on rice rockets, and one looks like he's on a penny farthing with a motor on it of some sort, and they're kind of
A rocket farthing.
and they're kind of just all sat and they're chatting to each other, but you kind of spot them, and then one of them kind of looks up and you see him tip the nod to all of his friends, and then they all pretty much as standard turn and look at yourself, and then a couple of them kind of dismount from their bikes where they've been sat on them all kind of parked up by the side of the street, and then start walking towards you. What do you do?
Is it easy? Like, are we just on one plain street at the moment, or is it easy for me to change my route without looking like I'm changing my route?
What's the road? Is it Grenville Road? It's a long straight street, quite a bit wider, and there's very few turnings left and right. Where there's a crossroads, and you're roughly halfway in between crossroads is Crossroad Eye, Cross Steeple, whatever the plural of crossroads is.
Dustin Runnels.
I carry on walking.
Mm-hmm. Two of these bikers kind of move to stop you. Deliberately move to intercept your path.
Okay. I stop and I look at them.
Okay.
Just kind of blankly.
So the two that's in front of you, one of them is sort of quite tall, about 6'7", and sort of fairly thin, and the other one's quite significantly short, like 5'2", 5'3". So they're quite an odd couple, but they're both wearing pretty much identical black leather bikers jackets with all the extra padding around the appropriate bits, and fairly faceless black helmets. In fact, they are just a sealed, not orb, but it's a helmet shape, but you can't see any place where the visor would raise itself.
So they're just sitting around talking while they've got their helmets on?
Yep.
All of them have got their helmets on?
All got their helmets on. And as you kind of scan around and look at them, they're all wearing these similar faceless helmets.
Maybe the Deathless Triumvirate sneaky.
Are they the Deathless
2.0.
Triumvirate, or are they Daft Punk?
You
Can I
picked
help you?
you picked the wrong night to walk down our street, Grandpa. And there's a fairly careful, balanced, moderated, kind of modulated voice. So it's got like a bit of filtering and a bit of reverb and like a bit of sort of all farts at the game table are in character farts, especially ones that we can hear. Did I point out that that was one of the rules of the table?
No.
Okay. Okay. Am I going to hold you to that one? Can you roll a 10-sided dice, please? Evens and I'm holding you to it, and odds and I'm not.
Nine.
9. Okay. So not holding you to that one, but going forward, right? There's the cutoff. There's your one free fart.
Everybody gets one.
You picked a wrong evening to be walking down our street, Grandpa. This, and he kind of looks around. This is our street. Nobody walks up and down this street without our say so.
I don't want any trouble. I did not realise it was your street. I'm happy to turn around and go back if you would want me to.
You see, you've started walking on the street. You're going to have to give up something, aren't you? Rona is the pub dog.
Who's the
This
pub
is Rona.
This is Rona. Isabel's husky.
Oh, hey.
It's a very topical name.
Yeah.
Yes, why we chose it.
Sorry. Yeah. You see, you've already started walking down the street, so you're going to have to pay. What you got, eh? And then they kind of start getting a little bit closer to you, and then you can sense that there's 3 or 4 of them that are stood up behind you. Or actually, you'll know exactly there are 4 of them who have kind of stood up and are barring the street behind
How
you.
many are there total?
7.
So I'm talking to 2 of them.
Talking to 2. Two of them's in. No, 2 of them are in front of you.
Yeah.
4 of them are behind you.
Yeah.
And then there's 1 of them still sat on their bike.
Okay. Does the one who sat on his bike look like he's the leader type, or?
Can you make a challenge 11 perception test, please?
He's the one still
Remember,
on his
I've
bike
got-
to Canada.
Reading people.
Okay, so you can use that.
Hidden knowledge?
Okay, so what's your reading people skill level?
1.
1, so that brings it down to a 10. Hidden knowledge will bring it down to a 9.
Right in the pit.
And you can spend perception if you
Yeah.
point of perception will bring it down to an 8.
Expansive endeavour, add 3 to any action from same pool.
Yep, so you can spend 3 perception bene. That will bring it down to a 6.
Cool. I'm going to only spend 2.
Okay,
In case I need perception later, because I've only got 3 total.
Yep.
So
That's a
I'll
7.
7. Yep.
And you can spend sortilege to give you an extra dice as well.
Yes, I shall. Seven.
Fantastic.
Oh, it's meet or beat though, isn't it? It's not meet or beat.
Let's meet or beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 7.
Me?
Hmm?
I was low-hanging fruit again. Just beat your meat.
Yes, most definitely. They are taking great lengths to, mask all of the voices, and a lot of the body language is like almost artificially muted. But you pick up that definitely the guy on the bike is the leader.
How far away are they as the leader?
So the two in front of you are uncomfortably close. The ones behind you are about more, they're out of arm's reach. They're about 2-3 meters away, and the leader's about sort of 5 meters away. So about 15 foot away, yeah.
And is he watching, or is he just not going?
Quite definitely watching.
Okay. Look what I do.
You are silly.
I don't know. I think because I can move Earth, can't I?
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm seeing it, they've got like two standing in front of me like this.
Yep.
Like a foot, 18 inches away, kind of thing, quite up in your face type of thing.
Yep.
But there's a gap between them, not enough for me to fit through normally, but then they're kind of almost shoulder to shoulder kind of thing, but where their feet are. I'm gonna move the Earth so it just makes them fall over, and then I'm gonna walk straight to the leader.
Okay. What off the top of your head, do you know what level you're?
I think this is quite a small one because I've got Call to the Earth, and Armor of Stone, and Shaping Stone.
Let's have a look. This is Sings the Earth Song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Call to the Earth adds there's 2 points, and it adds 1 Bene to all of your physical pools temporarily, so it won't be that. Armor of Stone just gives you 1 armor point, and it is
Shaping Stone.
Shaping Stone. Yeah.
Level 5.
Wonderful. So you can. So it cost you 5 Bene. With the forte abilities that you've got, you can always, and this is for everybody, spend extra Bene extra sorcery rather, up to a total of 10 points of sorcery to increase the level of the effect. So these guys are only level 4 because you've got, and when you cast a spell on an NPC, you add the level of the spell to your venture, which means you're adding +5. So it's going to work
I have to roll for it
straight away. No.
Okay.
But it is level 4, so it's +1 magic dice. So if you just roll the magic dice to see if you get a flux.
No.
No, right.
You sound disappointed.
Ow! So you just, what does it look when you do that? Do you have any kind of gestures, or do you move your hands, or do you say a magic word, or?
I do, but it's kind of like, I can't really demonstrate it, but it's pointing down. So it's just my hand doing that at the end of my arms that are flat by my side.
Hmm.
So it's not some big grand thing. They almost wouldn't have noticed that I did it.
Yeah.
But obviously I did because it smoothed my path. And you know when like the tarmac's wrinkled with the sun, the bumps come up, but it's only like that, but it's just enough to push them off sideways.
Okay.
And it
So
almost goes straight down again. They don't even notice what's really happened. But
okay.
obviously the guy who's watching them does.
So they kind of go flying, and you head over to the leader.
Yeah.
Okay. The leader sat there on a motorbike, and it looks like the most sort of beaten up trial bike that you've ever seen. It's got mud and dirt, caked all over the side of it. It looks like it hasn't been cleaned in like weeks, and they're just kind of sat there. They're on the bike, but they're kind of propped up on one side and got one hand against the side of the helmet. Impressive, says the voice. Nice little party trick that you've got there.
There's no point speaking to the monkeys when it's the organ grinders show.
So, what are you going to pay for walking down our street?
This is my town and my street too. I know all these streets. Have I been down this one before?
No, you said you chose a different way home.
Yeah, but I kind of meant like several of normal paths, like.
Okay.
Like the way that we can get to our house up North Hill or North Road
Okay.
East or Greenbank or.
Roll a dice, and on 1 to 3, you've walked along this road before.
1.
Yep. So yes, you have.
Yeah. So I say I've walked along here many times before and had no problem at all. I'm not looking to make a problem, and I'm happy to keep walking.
So we're going to get a. Oh. Going to see what that one means. I think I know what that one means, but I just want to find out for definite.
That should be the bum dog.
The raven stands watch over the unknown. As we strive for understanding, the closer we get to the truth, the farther away it becomes. Okay. Right. So the figure says, yeah, I do recognise the feel of your footsteps. You ever walk down here at night?
Yes.
Surprising you haven't come across us before. We're just here to keep the street safe. Now, we can feel that you bring power with you, and you felt different to the last time. We just wanted to make sure you weren't causing trouble.
Same old snowball, new fiery flavour.
And then this figure kind of stands up, leans in a little bit closer. The mean streets of Fartown are going to be watching you. And then comes back, and it kind of gestures to all of the other figures on motorbikes. And then the two that you kind of toppled over, they stand up in a very kind of fluid motion. and then the short one just kind of goes like that, and then melts down actually into the tarmac.
Ooh.
And then a lot of the others kind of like drive off to various other parts, and you can see them just kind of melting down onto the street. Yes.
Call to the earth.
Yes.
Can I hear that?
Let's have a look. No, Call to the Earth goes, I sing a deep resonant song and the earth responds, giving me strength and aid. I add 1 Benet to each of my Surtees pools. If you want to use it, I'll let you make another perception test.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another 2 points of sorcery, and you can use your reading people skill again, and you can add the +2 from the Call to the Earth. So it's a difficulty 9 test. Is it 1 point in reading people?
Yeah.
That'll bring it down to 8, and then 2 points for the spell brings it down to 6.
No, 2.
Okay. Yeah. Something about you we don't like, says the leader.
I thought they'd all gone.
The leader's still.
Oh, I wasn't trying. I didn't realise that he was there. I wasn't trying it with him there. Anyway.
Okay. Something about you we don't like, he said. The leader says, and like I say, he comes in close and says, "We are going to be watching you. Don't walk down these streets at night again." And then it kind of takes a few steps back, and it does the same kind of thing where it melts into the tarmac in the street.
I say rather loudly, "Watch me all you like. I'll walk where I want. The earth knows my name."
Dun, 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 dun.
Don't mess with Snowball.
Hmm?
Don't mess with Snowball.
This reminds me of that scene from The Office where the guy's like giving the other car 2 fingers, but like underneath the carpet. I'm like, yeah, after it's gone. Not The
We'll
Office.
see a lot, but
Where's The
you
Office? Office Space. Office Space. What Ross watches?
You've not seen Office Space?
No.
Oh my gosh. That would be your life in a film.
It's just wonderful. Yeah. If you could go ahead and come in on Saturday, that'd be great.
Is that where the if you could not do that meme comes
Yeah.
from?
Yeah. That's his boss, Bill Lumberg. Don't know what that. No.
Cycle.
Okay.
It's not my spin cycle, it's their spin cycle.
Right. Next day.
Yep.
Cool beans. Oh. What a card to draw for an overnight sequence. The misremembered dream, because this game is not magic. Yeah.
Ah! Ah!
Not magic.
So this is my main role in this game.
Yeah. I actually think I need one of those signs making for one of the girls at work, because most of the day on Saturday she was holding up a little post-it note just saying, "This is painful."
I've got my Shelley No laminated card.
Dreams are.
Yes. I've got a girl at work, and she's lovely and she's amazing, but what she thinks are appropriate lines aren't always appropriate lines with students and other staff that we deal with. And we used to have to go, Shelley, no. Just really try to, Shelley, no, stop. And so then I made a laminated sign. And I'm just like, Shelley, no. But then, because it's laminated, you just kind of wibble it like a wibble board, and she can hear the noise, and she knows that that means Shelley.
Like a dog training clicker.
It's like Pavlov's dog.
Can you imagine if Pavlov had been a cat person instead?
Pavlov's dog is obviously the Rose's dog.
We also have Schrodinger's cat as well.
And Schrodinger's cat.
We might do.
We're not entirely sure. But there is a funny smell coming from the cellar.
Dreams are strange constructs of our subconscious, made stranger still because we don't remember them clearly. Some say that in shadow, people's dreams seem strange because they're remembering actuality, and in the actuality, people's dreams resemble the mundanity of the grey. This is, at least in part, true. But of course, like everything having to do with the deepest reaches of the mind, it's much more complex than that. The line between memory and dream is tenuous, but the memory of a dream or the dream of a memory, who can count on that? And then the alt text of the card is, ah, yes, there were rats coming out of mirrors in the sky in my dream, weren't there? Cool. I'm going to pause the recording for a little bit because I need to get myself a drink, take a quick bio break. I want you all to have a think as to what unusual and disturbing dream you have this night. Okay? Be back in a moment. Cool beans. So, weird dreams. Roland.
Roland has dreamt, as he does most nights, of the tower. Except this time it's not the tower as he normally sees it. It's a giant, super high stacked burger.
That's your dreams, not Roland's dreams.
I am Roland. Roland is me. Yeah. But the dream logic is that it is still the tower. It's just also this great big edible mound of beef.
Nom, nom, nom. Extra cheese?
Yeah.
Dill pickle?
That's how you know what floor you're on.
Ooh, depending on how much cheese is there.
Depending on what it is. Kind of like you've got the ground floor is like bread,
Yeah.
and then the first floor is beef, and then there's a mezzanine which is cheese, and then the third floor is also beef, and then there's another cheese mezzanine, but then you have the onion layer.
That's so good. I'm gonna have to go at making Slimming World friendly McMuffins in the morning. I did tell you that earlier.
I may have been
No, you weren't. You did not have the headphones on.
maybe concentrating.
Okay.
Ignore.
Hawk.
Okay. I
Really domestic.
am dreaming of myself from somebody else's perspective.
God, it's not mine.
Going about my day to day, but we could never quite manage to do what was on our list. That is. So yeah, it's like I watch myself, but I'm somebody else in the perspective of the dream.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, when you say not managing to do everything, that's like getting to the dry cleaners just as they close, or they've just closed, or somebody's just had the last packet of soup, or that sort of thing.
Did you basically dream Alanis Morissette's Ironic?
Yeah, pretty much.
The only ironic thing about that is the fact that she's not talking about irony. She's talking about just bad timing.
And coincidence.
Yep.
Or the most ironic thing is the fact that she got given the American Songwriters Award when she's Canadian. Yeah. And what about Stowbold?
So often he dreams of war and fighting, and just doesn't always know who the enemy is, but there's fighting and just stuff coming at him, and fighting and things. And then often he kind of is fighting and then is swallowed by the earth. But this is normally like a pleasant feeling, like he's home, like he can stop fighting, he can rest, the earth and him have a I don't know, relationship.
Yep.
But this time when he's kind of swallowed by the earth, there's unknowns in it. There's still fear there, not fear, unrest. And when you wake up, you don't always remember what you've dreamt, but you have the feeling, and it's the feeling like there's things that he felt he was connected to, he doesn't feel as connected anymore.
Cool. Do you get together back at the Rose or somewhere else? Yeah. Probably going to be the last scene of the evening because I've just noticed it's 9:30. The weeping, the weeping priest. Again, not one that I think we've had before.
Mm.
So this is the Apprentice of Secrets. None of you are secrets, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I think of all of you, Hawk, you're kind of, because you're at -1 because of this card, the dream kind of affects you more than anybody else. The meanings are betrayal, weakness, turnabout, disillusionment, and loss. The priest sits alone, filled with sadness or remorse. What's happened? What's caused his misery? Happiness, success, and good fortune are fragile things, easily taken away by the cruel hand of fate. This is particularly true when there's a probably unseen weakness in a plan. As the apprentice of the Secrets family, the weeping priest is its sweet link. It's a hindrance at best and a hidden stab in the back at worst. The worst secret of all is the one that conceals betrayal by the one you love most. Surprise. Do I weep the most for the wrongs I have witnessed or those I have committed? Ooh. Okay. So you get back to the Rose, what, early morning, mid-morning?
11-ish.
Yeah.
11-ish. Fantastic.
Because it had been a really hard couple of days. So
Leisurely morning.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of imagining that Roland is probably still up quite early. Grits and eggs for breakfast or something suitably Western.
Sarsaparilla.
Kind of montage across to Stowbold. Probably, I don't know, toast and jam, cup of tea.
Yeah, no, egg soldiers.
Crumpet with a little bit of Steve. Just a smidge.
I've been reading Thief of Time and Terry Pratchett, and all I want was a boiled egg.
No, but every time you dip your soldiers into the egg, you get reminded of that dream that you had where you were swallowed by the earth.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
And Hawk probably, I don't know, staggers down into the Saloon of the Rose
in her normal, like, well
So-
made up.
We've seen you hungover many times.
Yeah, but it's
Many. So it
she
kind of
didn't
looks like
normally,
that
even
at
though she's
first
hungover,
glance.
she'll still look fabulous when she goes downstairs.
Oh, really?
Whereas today, she's not. She is
Oh,
in.
okay.
She's in slobs, for a better word.
The
but
Victorian equivalent of slobs.
And her hair's dishevelled. She's not sorted it out, and she's got no makeup on.
Why am I thinking Amy Winehouse?
No.
Okay.
Trying to think. Yeah.
Okay. And Bear Grylls is on.
Patsy. From
Yes.
No, not that.
And Bear Grylls is kind of sat at the bar with a cup of coffee. And there's a cup of coffee on the bar next to Bear Grylls. And he's kind of sat on the floor, just kind of sat there like bears do. And because you might as well have two pub dogs, Rona and Ambrosius, are kind of just sat there and they're just staring at each other. And you're kind of watching them for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then Bear Grylls just kind of gets up and pads back into the kitchen.
I think it's one of those melancholy weather days as well, isn't it? When it's like
Yeah.
oppressive and grey and just it's not
muggy.
necessarily it
And-
might be drizzle, but it's just a bit.
And everybody that comes in through the door is going to go, probably going to get a storm later, aren't we?
Mm.
Yeah. And who's behind the bar? Yeah, Hansy Dave behind the bar. And he's kind of sat there and he's just using his normal hands. He's not doing his trick.
I thought he was just hands.
No,
He
He's-
doesn't want me.
he's a normal guy
With
But
many
he-
hands.
with like many hands, most of which aren't attached to the rest of him.
I just thought he was hands. Like two cousin its ethereally joined, not its things.
Thing.
See, I was thinking more like he just has this cloud of kind of like Disney style Mickey Mouse gloves that does everything.
Yeah, yeah. But they're not Disney because obviously they're copyrighted and they're also Disney. So. Best thing
I can't
about
believe it's not Disney.
the best thing
You
about
say
Disney.
it too many times, it will appear. Stop saying the word.
What, Disney?
Yes.
Get demonetized and thrown off, they'll find you.
Is it like Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
And so he's kind of sat behind the bar and he gets your coffees ready. Presuming you don't turn up with Beano's.
Mm.
And he's
until the door on the stairwell that normally just leads to a little cupboard that like we keep the vacuum cleaner and stuff in, until that door becomes a door to Beano's. No, I won't go to Beano's on my way from my room to the bar.
and the pub coffee is that kind of wonderful. It's got notes of treacle, but more because sometimes it has the consistency of treacle. And I think today it's like it's almost spreadable. It's got the consistency of Marmite,
Is it Moroccan coffee?
thicker,
Oh, jeez.
thicker.
So it's Wolverhampton coffee.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think as Stowbold sees it, he kind of gets that kind of and it kind of reminds him a bit too much about the way the guys kind of melted into the street.
I ain't telling them.
Yeah. So Hawk's got a slice of this coffee, and Roland's got a slice. And does Snowball take one as well?
Yeah.
Okay. It tastes okay. Notes of treacle. And it's kind of there, but it just doesn't seem to be hitting the spot. Then a couple more of the early morning crowd kind of come in for the lunches, and again, as soon as they walk in, oh, funny old weather we're having out there. We're probably going to have a storm later. And they kind of sit down and they make their order, and Dave's just kind of doing his thing, and he's just plodding along bit by bit. And he kind of looks up and he says, "Did you He looks over at Hawk and Roland. Did either of you two hear Eliana leaving last night?"
No.
I heard raised voices, and then I heard Eliana kind of leaving, and then Caliburn left. I think
Come back?
no. Well, I knocked on the door when I came in, but don't think they're in there.
I go in.
Yeah, knock on the door.
So does he sleep at the Rose then?
Hmm?
Does he sleep at the Rose then?
No, but he was doing the night shift.
Clean up.
No answer, and
With the
no
with
sock
the
no sock on the door either.
With the raised voices, Eliana and Caliburn, or was it Eliana and somebody else?
I'll be brutally honest, I can hardly tell the difference. I know it was Eliana's voice.
Is there any note? Is there any like they left a note or anything on the notice board or?
So you have a look at the notice board, and there's a fairly hastily scrawled note that's in Eliana's handwriting, and it just says, "Needed to get some space. Back soon."
Okay.
She's got a dragonfly necklace. If we're worried, we can try and raise her. Are we,
Or at least we can try and figure out that she's close by or something.
yeah, I mean, are we worried yet?
Were they angry voices that you heard? You said raised voices.
Well, most of the time. No, I don't know. And he's not being like deliberately effusive. It's almost like the weather's kind of oppressed, because normally he's quite, I wouldn't say bubbly, but normally he's got quite a an optimistic streak to him.
Yeah.
I don't think we're worried yet. She walked out of her own volition. She wasn't taken. She left a note telling us who she's going to be. Reckon we leave it a day or two, and if we still haven't heard from her, then
Yeah.
we'll ping her.
Okay.
Cool. Can you all roll one flux dice, please?
I got a 6.
I got a 3.
Wonderful. And then there's just one of those moments when you're all taking a bite of your coffee, when Dave kind of looks up and he says, "Oh, do you like that stuff? It's decaf." And that's where I'm going to end it.
No.
So despair all round then.
Lies.
The next session will begin with Roland shooting Handsy Dave.
Cool. Character summaries. Snowballed.
Namaste.
So I've got a character arc of Mysterious Secret, which I'm opening, beginning the search, research, investigation, which is repeatable, and discovery. I think I'd like to start investigating again because I think that. So I've looked at the Museum of Me.
Yep.
But these people's reaction, these things' reaction to me. I think since I've been to the Museum of Me and had the oil stuff come into me, because I know I've walked down those streets when I was, or may not have known I was lava, but I was lava. So I'd like to look into that.
Okay.
Sentience of the streets kind of thing. So I think I've kind of made a bit of progress on an arc, only in the sense of starting it again.
Okay.
Well, restarting a step.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah. Give you 2 acumen for that.
Cool.
Joy or despair?
Despair, because my
Decaf.
dream, yeah, decaf. Because things I thought I knew, I didn't know, and I hold great weight in the things I think I know.
Yep, makes sense. Hawk.
Despair. That dream has freaked the crap out of me because it almost felt as if it was something that's happened. That's my brain's trying to. It's almost as if it could potentially be part of what happened before, leading up to stuff. And I think it's just. It might not be, might be, but it feels as if it was more than just a dream, if that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Any arc progress?
I guess that being a little bit, but nothing substantial.
Okay. Yeah, so just a despair for that one. And Roland.
Despair because A, decaf.
Oh yeah.
But B, it feels to Roland like not only is it a literal calm before a storm, but it's a metaphorical calm before a storm as well. Something is brewing and it is disquieting.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And any progress along your arcs?
Nay.
Nay. Nay. Cool. Cool. Well, thank you very much, folks. And we will
Did we
hopefully
have all completely new cards today? Oh no, the Unnoble Secret we had.
a noble truth we've had before.
Yeah.
Misremembered dream I'm fairly certain we've had before.
Mm.
That it's just a conspirator and the weeping priest.
Okay.
That I'm pretty certain we've not had. I can go back and check, but I'm fairly certain we've not seen them.
Remember them.
Cool beans. Well, thanks very much. And I'm